Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in front of the massive data screen. Numbers and charts filled the blue glow before her eyes. She had been studying these same patterns for 3 years now. Every time she looked at them, they made less sense. Elena worked at the Galactic Research Station on Kepler 442b. The station was home to scientists from 12 different worlds. They all came here to study one simple question: how do species become smart enough to travel between stars? The answer seemed easy at first. Every species they studied followed the same path. First, they learned to use tools. Then they built cities. After that came machines, computers, and finally spaceships. The whole process took between 50,000 and 100,000 years, every species except one. Elena touched the screen and brought up Earth's data. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from space. No one would guess the mystery it held. "Still working late?" asked Dr. Kethvar. The tall, gray alien walked over on his 4 legs. His large black eyes reflected the screen's light. "I cannot understand it," Elena said. She pointed at the timeline on the screen. "Look at this. Humans used simple stone tools for 500,000 years. 500,000. They lived in small groups. They hunted animals and picked plants. They barely changed at all." Kethvar's head moved in what humans called a nod. "Yes, this is why we marked Earth as a dead-end world. No potential for growth." Elena shook her head. "But that is what makes no sense. Look what happened next." She touched the screen again. The timeline jumped forward. 12,000 years ago, everything changed. Humans built cities. They invented writing. They created machines. In just 200 years, they went from horses to spaceships that can fold space itself. "Impossible," said another voice. Dr. Morvac floated over in his water suit. The octopus-like being's tentacles moved in patterns that meant confusion. "No species develops that fast. It breaks all the rules." Elena had heard this same conversation hundreds of times. Every scientist who studied Earth said the same thing. It was impossible. But the evidence was right there on the screen. "Maybe we are missing something," Elena said. "What if those 500,000 years were not wasted? Time? What if humans were preparing for something?" Kethvar made a sound like air escaping from a pipe. It was how his people laughed. "Preparing? They hit rocks together to make sharp edges for 500,000 years." "But they survived," Elena pointed out. "Ice ages, volcanoes, asteroid impacts, they lived through everything. Other species would have died out." She pulled up more data. Charts showed human brain development over time. "Look at this. Their brains kept growing, not just in size, but in how they connected to each other. By the time they started building cities, their brains were different from any other species." "We know." Dr. Morvac's tentacles stopped moving. In his species, this meant deep thought. "You think the long development was intentional?" "Not intentional," Elena said, "but maybe necessary. Maybe their brains needed that much time to become what they are now." The 3 scientists stared at the data in silence. Elena brought up comparison. Charts. Every other species showed steady, predictable growth. Humans showed a flat line for hundreds of thousands of years, then a vertical spike. "I have been thinking about this for months," Elena said. "What if we have been looking at it wrong? What if humans did not waste those years? What if they were building something we cannot see?" "Building what?" Kethvar asked. Elena touched her tablet and new information appeared. Social structures, language patterns, creative thinking. Look at their art from just before the Great Leap. It shows imagination beyond anything we have seen. The screen filled with images of cave paintings. Simple drawings of animals and humans covered rock walls, but Elena had studied them carefully. The way humans drew showed they could think about things that were not real. They could imagine what might be instead of just what was. They were not just surviving, Elena continued. They were learning how to adapt, how to solve problems, how to work together in ways no other species does. Dr. Morvac's water suit made bubbling sounds as he breathed faster. But the timeline still makes no sense. Why did the change happen so suddenly? Elena had been working on this question for weeks. She had a theory, but it sounded crazy even to her. What if it was not sudden? What if humans had been ready for thousands of years, but they were waiting? Waiting for what? For the right moment. For when they needed to change. Elena pulled up climate data from Earth. Look here. 12,000 years ago, the last ice age ended. The world warmed up. Food became easier to find. For the first time in human history, they did not have to spend all their time just surviving. The data showed the connection clearly. As soon as humans had extra time and energy, they exploded into activity. Cities, farming, writing, mathematics, all in just a few thousand years. But even that does not explain their technology, Kethvar said. Space folding engines, quantum computers, these things require understanding we took millions of years to develop. Elena smiled. This was the part of her theory that excited her most. What if that is exactly the point? What if humans learned to think in ways we never did? She brought up brain scans of different species. Every other species thinks in patterns. We follow logical steps from one idea to the next. Humans do something different. They make connections between ideas that seem unrelated. They call it creativity. The scans showed the difference clearly. Other species' brains lit up in orderly patterns. Human brains looked like fireworks, with connections sparking everywhere at once. They do not just solve problems, Elena explained. They solve problems that do not exist yet. They think about what might be possible, not just what is real now. Doctor. Morvac's tentacles began moving in rapid spirals. This meant excitement in his species. So the long, silent period built their ability to think in new ways? Exactly. While we were following predictable development paths, humans were becoming something different. Something that could take a problem and find solutions we never dreamed of. Elena touched the screen one more time. Data about human space technology filled the display. Ships that moved faster than light should allow. Computers that seemed to think for themselves. Weapons that changed the rules of physics. This is why their expansion scares the Elder Council, Elena said quietly. Humans do not follow our rules. They make new rules. The three scientists stood in silence again. Outside the station's windows, stars filled the black sky. Somewhere, among those stars, human ships were moving at impossible speeds. Human colonies were growing on worlds that should have been empty forever. The Council wants to contain them, Kethvar said. They think humans are dangerous. Elena nodded. She had read the reports. The oldest species in the galaxy were afraid. For millions of years, they had controlled how civilization developed. They decided which species could join the galactic community and which could not. Humans had never asked permission. They had simply appeared one day with technology that should not exist. They did not follow the rules because they had written their own rules. Maybe the Council is right to be afraid, Dr. Morvac said. If humans can develop this fast, what will they be like in another 1,000 years? Elena looked at the data one more time. 500,000 years of silence, followed by the loudest entrance into galactic civilization anyone had ever seen. Human engines literally screamed as they tore through space, announcing to everyone that a new player had joined the game. I think, Elena said slowly, we are about to find out. Captain Marcus Chen sat in the command chair of the EDS Prometheus. Through the main window, he could see the Galactic Council's massive space station. It looked like a metal flower floating in the darkness, with arms reaching out in all directions. This was humanity's first official meeting with the galactic government. Marcus had trained for this moment his entire career. Everything had to go perfectly. Sir, "We are receiving their docking instructions," said Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. Marcus nodded. "Follow their guidance exactly. We do not want to give them any reason to think we are aggressive." The Prometheus moved slowly toward the docking bay. Marcus watched the alien ships around them. Most were smooth and curved, like they had grown instead of being built. The human ship looked different with its sharp angles and glowing blue engines. Behind him, Dr. Sarah Kim checked her notes again. She was the head of the diplomatic team. "Remember, Captain, they expect us to be primitive. They think we just learn to travel between stars." "I know," Marcus said. "We stick to the plan. We show them our basic technology only. Nothing that will scare them." The plan had been argued about for months back on Earth. Some people wanted to show the aliens everything humans could do. Others wanted to hide their true abilities completely. In the end, they decided to reveal just enough to seem normal. The docking was smooth. Marcus felt the soft bump as magnetic clamps held the ship in place. He stood up and adjusted his dress uniform. "Dr. Kim, Ambassador Park, you are with me. Everyone else stays on the ship unless I call for them." The three humans walked through the airlock and into the alien station. The gravity felt slightly heavy, and the air smelled like flowers mixed with metal. Lights in the walls pulsed in slow, steady rhythms. A group of aliens waited for them in the docking bay. Marcus recognized their species from the files Earth had put together. The tall gray one was Kethvari. The floating one in the water suit was Morvakian. There were three others he did not know. The lead alien stepped forward. It looked almost human, but its skin was blue and it had 4 arms. When it spoke, a small device on its chest translated the words into English. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Council Speaker Vashati. We greet you in the name of the Galactic Confederation." Ambassador Park stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Speaker Vashati. We are honored to meet you. I am Ambassador Park, representing Earth and all humanity. Please, follow us to the meeting chamber," Vashati said. They walked through corridors filled with wonders Marcus had only seen in pictures. Gravity fields held water in impossible shapes. Plants from a dozen worlds grew in crystal gardens. Art that moved and changed colors decorated the walls. The meeting chamber was huge, with a round table in the center. Holographic displays showed star maps and data streams. Representatives from 20 different species sat around the table. "Please, sit," Vashati said, pointing to 3 empty chairs. As the humans sat down, Marcus noticed how the aliens looked at them. Some seemed curious. Others looked almost bored, like they had done this many times before. "We have studied your species for some time," Vashati began. "Your development pattern is unusual, but we welcome all new members to our galactic community." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "We are grateful for this opportunity. Earth is eager to learn from more advanced civilizations." One of the aliens, a tall insect-like being, made clicking sounds. Its translator said, "Your species developed remarkably fast. Most take much longer to reach space travel capability." "We are fast learners," Ambassador Park said with a smile. Vashiti activated a holographic display. It showed Earth's solar system, with human colonies marked in red dots. "We see you have already begun expanding to nearby systems. This is aggressive for such a young species." Marcus felt tension creep into the room. The aliens were looking at the humans differently now. "We only colonize empty worlds," Dr. Kim said quickly. "We respect all existing claims and territories." "Of course," Vashati said, "but we must discuss your technology. Our scans of your ships show some unexpected capabilities." Here it comes, Marcus thought, the moment they had prepared for. "What do you mean?" Ambassador Park asked, playing innocent. A new alien spoke up. This one looked like a jellyfish made of light. Your engines emit quantum signatures we do not recognize. They appear to fold space in ways that should not be possible with your level of development. The room went quiet. Marcus could feel every alien's attention focused on the three humans. Dr. Kim cleared her throat. We have made some advances in theoretical physics. Perhaps we could share our research with your scientists. That would be most welcome, Vashati said. But Marcus could hear something cold in the translated voice. Another alien joined the conversation. This one was covered in fur and had 6 legs. We detected ships from your species in the Kepler 442 system yesterday, yet your homeworld is 47 light-years from there. How did you travel so far so quickly? Marcus's heart rate increased. They had been spotted. The secret mission to establish contact with Dr. Vasquez's research team was supposed to be hidden. We have several exploration ships, Ambassador Park said carefully. Perhaps you detected one of them? The furry alien's ears twitched. Our sensors are very accurate. The ship appeared suddenly, as if it had folded space to arrive instantly. Impossible, said the jellyfish alien. Space folding technology requires understanding of quantum mechanics that takes millennia to develop. Dr. Kim tried to change the subject. Perhaps we could discuss trade agreements? Earth has many resources that might interest your species, but... The aliens were not interested in trade anymore. Marcus could see suspicion growing in their expressions. Vashti leaned forward. Humans, we need you to be completely honest with us. What is your true technological level? The 3 humans looked at each other. They had practiced this moment, but facing 20 suspicious aliens was harder than any simulation. We are more advanced than we initially appeared, Ambassador Park admitted. But we come in peace. We only want to join the galactic community. How advanced? The insect alien clicked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and voices spoke in languages Marcus did not understand. Vashti touched a control on the table. A holographic display showed space around the station. Dozens of human ships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding the massive alien structure. What is the meaning of this? Vashti demanded. Marcus stood up slowly. He touched his communicator. Admiral Chen, explain the situation, please. A woman's voice came through the speakers. Council Speaker Vashti, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We detected weapons being powered up on several ships around your station. We are here to ensure our diplomatic team's safety. The room erupted in noise as aliens spoke, in their own languages. The translators could not keep up with all the conversations. Your ships were not detected approaching, the jellyfish alien said. They appeared instantly, without any warning. How many ships do you have? Vashti asked. Marcus looked around the room. Every alien was staring at him with expressions ranging from fear to anger. Enough, he said simply. Dr. Kim tried to calm the situation. We did not come here to threaten anyone. But humans have learned to be careful when meeting strangers. Your caution appears to be well-founded, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see an alien Marcus had never seen before. It was ancient-looking, with skin like old leather and eyes that seemed to hold starlight. Elder Korvash, Vashti said, bowing deeply. We did not expect you. The ancient alien moved slowly around the table. I have been observing these humans since they appeared in our galaxy. They are not what they seem. Elder Korvash stopped in front of Marcus. Your species compressed normal development time by a factor of hundreds. You possess technology that violates our understanding of physics. You appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Marcus met the alien's gaze. We are what we need to be. And what do you need to be? Marcus thought about Earth, about the long struggle to reach the stars, about the risks they faced in a galaxy full of unknown species. Survivors, he said. Elder Korvash was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice that sounded like distant thunder. The Confederation has maintained peace for 3 million years. We have rules, we have order, We have balance." He turned to address the entire room. "These humans threaten all of that. They follow no rules but their own. They possess power without wisdom. They expand without permission." Marcus felt the weight of the moment. Humanity's entire future might depend on what happened next. "What do you suggest, Elder?" Vashati asked. Corvash looked at the holographic display showing human ships surrounding the station. "They must be contained," he said, "before they destabilize everything we have built." Admiral Zara al-Rashid stood on the bridge of the EDS Valkyrie as it tore through space at impossible speeds. The ship's Banshee drive howled like a living thing as it bent reality around them. The sound always reminded her why humans had chosen that name for their fastest engines. "Admiral, we are approaching the Vega system," reported Commander Hayes from the navigation station. "Time to arrival? 14 minutes at current speed." Zara nodded. 14 minutes to travel 12 light years. The alien species would need months to make the same journey, but human ships moved through folded space like sharks through water. "Any signs of alien activity in the system?" "Negative, Admiral. The system appears empty as expected." Zara looked out at the stars rushing past them. 3 years had passed since the meeting at the Galactic Council Station. 3 years since Elder Corvash had declared humans a threat to galactic order. In those 3 years, humanity had expanded faster than anyone thought possible. Human colonies now existed in over 200 star systems. Human traders had revolutionized galactic commerce with impossible technologies. Human explorers had pushed into regions of space that even the oldest species avoided. "Sir, we have company," Hayes said suddenly. On the main screen, 3 alien ships appeared from behind Vega's 4th planet. They were HFY vessels, sleek, and gray like metal fish. "Open a channel," Zara ordered. The screen flickered, showing a familiar gray face. "Admiral al-Rashid, I am Commander Sektar of the HFY Border Guard. You are entering restricted space." Zara smiled. "Commander Sektar, according to the Galactic Navigation Database, this system is unclaimed. Are you saying the HFY have made a new territorial claim?" "We are patrolling for dangerous activity." "What kind of dangerous activity?" Sektar's large black eyes blinked slowly. "Human activity." The honesty surprised Zara. Usually the aliens tried to hide their fear behind legal language. "Commander, we are conducting scientific surveys of uninhabited systems. We have broken no laws." "Your presence here breaks the natural order," Sektar said. "Humans expand too fast. You claim worlds without permission. You ignore established protocols." Zara's smile faded. "Whose permission do we need to settle empty planets?" "The Council of Elders must approve all new colonies. This has been law for 2 million years. A law we never agreed to follow." The alien commander's breathing quickened. "All species must follow galactic law." "All species that choose to join your confederation," Zara corrected. "Humanity never applied for membership. We simply introduced ourselves." Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. They had heard this conversation many times before. The aliens wanted humans to follow rules that had been made without them. "Admiral," Commander Hayes said quietly, "I am detecting more ships approaching. 20 vessels from multiple species." Zara's expression hardened. "It seems we have walked into a trap, Commander Sektar." The alien looked uncomfortable. "The Elder Council has decided that human expansion must be contained. You will return to your home system and remain there. And if we refuse, then you will be forced to comply." More ships appeared on the screen. Zara recognized designs from 6 different species. They had formed an alliance specifically to stop human expansion. "Commander Hayes, are our escort ships in position?" "Yes, sir. The Banshee squadron is ready." Zara turned back to the alien commander. "Sektar, you have made a mistake. You think this is about territory or resources, but you are wrong. What is it about then? Freedom. The freedom to choose our own path among the stars. Zara made a hand signal. Around the Valkyrie, 20 human ships suddenly appeared from folded space. Their engines screamed as they dropped back into normal reality. Sektar's eyes widened. Impossible! We detected no approach signatures. That is because we did not approach, Zara explained. We simply arrived. The alien fleet began moving into attack formation. 40 ships against 21 humans. On paper, the aliens had the advantage. Admiral, they are powering weapons, Hayes reported. Red alert. All ships, prepare for engagement. Warning lights bathed the bridge in crimson glow. Zara felt the familiar calm that came before battle. She had fought in 12 engagements since the expansion began. The aliens always made the same mistakes. Sir, receiving transmission from the alien fleet commander. A new face appeared on screen. This alien looked like a crystal tree with glowing branches for arms. Human vessels, you are surrounded. Surrender now and you will be returned to Earth unharmed. Zara laughed. Commander, you clearly do not understand what you are facing. I understand perfectly. You are outnumbered 2-1. Numbers are not everything. Commander Hayes, show them what human engineering can do. Hayes touched his controls. The Valkyrie's main engines flared brighter. The Banshee drive's scream grew louder, becoming a sound that seemed to tear at reality itself. All ships, engage quantum acceleration. Around them, the human fleet began to move, but they did not move like normal spaceships. They flickered in and out of existence, appearing and disappearing faster than alien sensors could track. The alien fleet fired their weapons. Beams of energy and streams of particles filled the space where human ships had been. But the humans were no longer there. Impossible, the crystal alien said. Our sensors show your ships in multiple locations simultaneously. That is because we are, Zara said. Human ships do not just move through space. We move through possibility itself. The Valkyrie appeared directly in front of the alien flagship, its main cannon charged with energy that glowed like a small star. This is your final warning, Zara said. Withdraw from this system or face the consequences. The crystal alien's branches trembled. You cannot threaten a council enforcement fleet. The elder species will not allow this. The elder species are welcome to try stopping us. Zara cut the transmission. On the tactical display, she could see the alien ships trying to target the human fleet. But human ships moved like ghosts, appearing just long enough to fire before vanishing again. Admiral, the alien flagship is requesting another channel, Hayes said. Put them through. Sektar's face appeared again. He looked frightened. Admiral, please, we did not come here to start a war. Then why did you come? The Elder Council is afraid. Your species expands too fast. You settle worlds we thought were uninhabitable. You trade technologies we do not understand. You explore regions of space we have never dared to enter. Zara considered his words. And this frightens them? It terrifies them. For 3 million years, the galaxy has been stable, predictable. Species develop slowly, join the Confederation when they are ready, and follow established rules. But we do not follow the rules. You write your own rules, and other species are starting to notice. This was new information. Zara leaned forward. What do you mean? Sektar glanced around nervously. Younger species see what humans have accomplished. They ask why they must wait thousands of years for council approval to expand. They wonder why they cannot develop new technologies without permission. So we are setting a bad example? You are setting a dangerous example. The entire galactic order depends on species following the same development path. If everyone begins acting like humans, the galaxy would be free, Zara finished. The galaxy would be chaos. Zara stood up from her command chair. Around her, the bridge crew continued their work. Outside, human ships continued their impossible dance through folded space. Sektar, let me tell you something about humans. We spent 500,000 years learning how to survive. We lived through ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and asteroid impacts. We learned to adapt or die. She paused, looking at the alien fleet on the screen. The galaxy thinks our rapid expansion is dangerous, but you are wrong. We are not expanding fast because we are reckless. We are expanding fast because we can. Because we spent all those years learning how to change when change was needed. And if the Elder Council tries to stop you? Zara smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. Then they will learn what humans do when someone tries to cage us. She turned to Hayes. Commander, set course for the Kepler system, maximum speed. Yes, sir. The Banshee drive's scream grew louder as the Valkyrie prepared to fold space. Around them, the human fleet began to disappear, one ship at a time. Sektar, Zara said before cutting the transmission. Tell the Elder Council something for me. Tell them that humans do not ask permission to be free. We simply take our freedom and dare anyone to try taking it back. The transmission ended. The Valkyrie vanished from normal space, leaving only the echo of screaming engines behind. The alien fleet was left alone in the empty system, their commanders trying to understand what they had just witnessed. They had come to contain humanity's expansion. Instead, they had learned that containing humans was like trying to hold back a supernova with their bare hands. In the Crystal Alien's report to the Elder Council, he would write that humanity was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Not because they were aggressive, but because they were absolutely, completely free. And freedom, he realized, was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Ambassador Keiko Tanaka walked through the ruins of what had once been New Geneva Colony. The settlement on Proxima Centauri B had been humanity's first successful terraforming project. Now it was nothing but twisted metal and melted rock. How many? She asked Colonel Rodriguez, who was leading the investigation team. 4,000 colonists, he replied quietly. The attack came without warning. Some kind of weapon that turned the atmosphere itself into fire. Keiko knelt beside a piece of debris that had once been a school. Children had learned to read here, just days ago. Now there was nothing left but ashes. Any survivors? 17. They were in the deep mining tunnels when it happened. They are being treated on the hospital ship. Keiko stood up and looked at the orange sky of Proxima B. In the distance, she could see the massive shape of the EDS Retribution, humanity's newest battleship. Its weapons were pointed towards space, ready for the next attack. This was the 15th human colony destroyed in the past 6 months. The pattern was always the same. No warning, no communication, just complete destruction. The Elder Council had decided that humanity must be stopped, and they were using methods that violated every treaty and galactic law. Ambassador, came a voice over her communicator. You have an urgent message from Earth Command. Keiko touched her earpiece. Put it through. Secretary of Defense Williams appeared as a hologram in front of her. His face looked tired and angry. Keiko, we have a problem. The Morvakian Republic just announced they are leaving the Confederation. They cited human influence as their reason. What kind of influence? Apparently, human traders introduced them to quantum computing technology. Their scientists have made advances in 6 months that should have taken them 6,000 years. Keiko nodded grimly. This was what the Elder Council feared most. Humans were not just expanding into empty space. They were changing other species, showing them that the slow, controlled development enforced by galactic law was not the only way. How many species have left the Confederation now? 12 confirmed, with 8 more considering it. The elder species are panicking. Colonel Rodriguez stepped closer. Sir, permission to speak freely? Williams nodded. The attacks on our colonies are not random. They are targeting our most successful settlements. The ones that other species have visited and studied. Explain. New Geneva had the best terraforming technology in known space. Kepler Colony had developed faster than light communication. Armstrong Station was our most advanced manufacturing center. Keiko understood. They are not just trying to stop our expansion. They are trying to destroy our examples. Exactly. Every colony we build shows other species what is possible. The Elder Council cannot allow that. Williams's hologram flickered slightly. The situation is getting worse. We have intelligence that suggests the Eternal Conclave is planning something big. Keiko felt a chill. The Eternal Conclave was made up of the 5 oldest species in the galaxy. They were so advanced that most people thought of them as gods. If they were getting involved directly, what kind of plan? We are not sure, but our spies report massive fleet movements in the galactic core. Ships using technology we cannot even identify. How long do we have? Unknown. But Keiko, you need to understand something. The President has made a decision. If the Eternal Conclave attacks Earth or any of our major colonies, we will respond with everything we have. Everything? Williams was quiet for a moment. The Prometheus project is complete. All 12 ships are ready for deployment. Keiko's breath caught. The Prometheus project was humanity's most secret weapon development. Ships that could do things that violated the laws of physics, things that would terrify even the elder species. Sir, are we really prepared to go to war with beings that have existed for millions of years? Keiko, do you know what humans were doing 1,000,000 years ago? She thought about it. Living in caves using stone tools. And do you know what we are doing now? She looked around at the ruins of the colony. Even destroyed, the technology here was beyond what most species could imagine. Building impossible things, she said. Exactly. The elder species think time makes them powerful. But humans have something they do not understand. We change. We adapt. We become whatever we need to become. The hologram started to fade. Come home, Keiko. We need you for the negotiations. What negotiations? The ones that will decide whether this galaxy has room for both humans and the old order. The A transmission ended. Keiko stood in the ruins, thinking about the choice facing humanity. Submit to the Elder Council's control, or fight beings with millions of years of technological advancement. Ambassador? Colonel Rodriguez said, "We have incoming ships." Keiko looked up to see 3 vessels approaching from orbit. They were not human designs. The ships looked like they were grown rather than built, with organic curves and surfaces that seemed to shift and flow. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves," came a transmission from the Retribution. The response came in perfect English, but with an accent unlike anything Keiko had ever heard. "We are representatives of the Eternal Conclave. We request permission to speak with Ambassador Tanaka." Keiko's heart raced. The Eternal Conclave had come to her. "Permission granted," she said, into her communicator. "Land in the colony's main plaza." The 3 ships descended slowly. As they touched down, Keiko could see that they were even stranger up close. The hulls seemed to be alive, breathing slowly like sleeping animals. Doors opened with sounds like sighs, and 3 beings emerged. Keiko had seen pictures of the elder species, but seeing them in person was different. They moved with the grace of creatures that had existed since the galaxy was young. The first being looked almost human, but its skin seemed to contain starlight. When it moved, tiny points of light danced beneath the surface. The second was tall and thin, with too many joints in its arms and legs. Its head was elongated, and its eyes were pure silver. The third was the most disturbing. It looked like a shadow that had learned to walk upright. When Keiko looked at it directly, her eyes wanted to look away. "Ambassador Tanaka," the starlight being said. "I am Elder Synthesis. These are my companions, Elder Probability and Elder Entropy." "Honored to meet you," Keiko said. though she felt anything but honored. "We have come to discuss your species' future," Elder Synthesis continued. "The conclave has reached a decision about humanity." "I am listening." Elder Probability stepped forward. Its voice sounded like mathematics given form. "In all our calculations, humanity represents a variable that cannot be contained. Your species breaks every model we have developed over 3 million years. Is that necessarily bad?" Elder Entropy laughed, and the sound made Keiko's skin crawl. "Bad? Good? These concepts are meaningless. What matters is stability, order, the continuation of civilization as it has existed. And humans threaten that? Humans represent chaos," Elder Synthesis said. "In 50 years you have accomplished what most species require 50,000 years to achieve. Other species are beginning to question why they must follow the old ways." Keiko looked around at the destroyed colony. "And this is your solution? Destroying our homes?" "A regrettable necessity," Elder Probability said. "We hoped that limited pressure would convince your species to accept guidance. We were wrong. So what now?" Elder Synthesis moved closer. Up close, Keiko could see that the lights under its skin were actually tiny stars, complete solar systems in miniature. "Now we offer you a choice. Humanity can return to Earth and remain there. We will provide technology to make your world a paradise. Your species can live in comfort and safety forever." "A cage," Keiko said. "A sanctuary. And if we refuse?" Elder Entropy's shadow form rippled. "Then we will do what we have done before when faced with chaos. We will impose order." "You would commit genocide?" "We would preserve the galaxy," Elder Synthesis corrected. "Humanity's potential for growth is infinite. Left unchecked, you will eventually threaten the existence of all other life." Keiko felt anger building in her chest. "Based on what evidence?" Elder Probability gestured toward the ruins around them. "You terraformed this world in 5 years. Most species require 500. You developed quantum computers in decades, instead of millennia. You travel between stars as easily as other species travel between cities. And this makes us evil? It makes you unpredictable, and the universe cannot tolerate infinite unpredictability." Keiko stepped back from the 3 ancient beings. They were offering humanity the same choice they had probably offered other species throughout galactic history: submit or be destroyed. "I need to consult with my government," she said. "Of course. But understand, Ambassador, this offer will not remain open indefinitely. The conclave has waited long enough." The 3 elders turned and walked back to their ships. As they boarded, Elder Synthesis looked back. "Your species has accomplished remarkable things in a very short time. Do not let pride destroy what you have built." The ships lifted off and disappeared into space faster than Keiko's eyes could follow. Colonel Rodriguez walked over to stand beside her. "So that is what gods look like." "They are not gods," Keiko said firmly. "They are just very old bullies. What do we do now?" Keiko looked up at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them, human ships were pushing deeper into unknown space, human colonies were growing on impossible worlds, and human scientists were discovering things that should not exist. "Now we go home," she said, "and we prepare for war." Commander David Okafor floated in his command suit as the Joint Task Force approached the dying star system. Around him, ships from 12 different species moved in perfect formation. Human vessels flew alongside Kethvari cruisers, Morvakian, research ships, and even 2 vessels from species that had left the Confederation only months before. "Status report," David said into his communicator. "The stellar nursery is collapsing faster than our models predicted," replied Dr. Elena Vasquez from the science vessel Discovery. "If we cannot stabilize it in the next 6 hours, the chain reaction will destroy 17 inhabited systems." David looked at the main display showing Kepler 438, once a young star that gave birth to new worlds. Now it was consuming itself, creating a gravity wave that would tear apart everything within 50 light years. How did this happen again? The Eternal Conclave's attempt to create a barrier around human space, Elena explained. They tried to fold space-time to create an impassable wall, but the energy requirements were so massive that it destabilized local stellar formation. David shook his head. 3 months ago, the elder species had tried to cage humanity by literally bending space around human-controlled systems. The plan had backfired spectacularly when their ancient technology proved incompatible with the quantum signatures of human ships. The result was chaos across the galaxy. Stars going nova unexpectedly, planets thrown out of orbit, entire civilizations facing extinction. "Commander," came a transmission from the Kethvari ship, Wisdom of Ages. "We are ready to begin the synchronization procedure." Acknowledged. Captain Sektar. David still found it strange to be working with the same Kethvari commander who had tried to arrest Admiral al-Rashid years before. But the crisis had changed everything. When faced with galactic extinction, old enemies had become allies. All ships, assume positions around the stellar core, David ordered. The fleet spread out in a complex three-dimensional formation. Each ship represented a different approach to the problem. The humans brought their reality-bending technology. The Kethvari provided precise gravitational calculations. The Morvakians offered their expertise in stellar mechanics. David, Elena's voice came through the comm again. "I am reading massive energy signatures approaching from the galactic core." "The Conclave?" "3 ships. They are using technology I cannot identify." David switched to the fleet frequency. "All vessels, be advised. Elder ships approaching. Maintain position and continue the mission." He was not surprised that the Eternal Conclave had come. This crisis was their fault, and they would want to solve it using their own methods. Methods that had failed spectacularly for the past 3 months. The 3 elder ships appeared on the screen. They were even larger than David had expected, each one the size of a small moon. Their surfaces rippled with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Joint Task Force Prometheus," came a transmission. David recognized the voice of Elder Synthesis. "Withdraw from this system immediately. The Conclave will handle this crisis." "With respect, Elder Synthesis," David replied, "your methods have not been working. The stellar collapse has accelerated every time you have tried to stop it. Our methods require time to implement properly. Your interference has been counterproductive." David looked at the display showing the dying star. Massive solar flares were already reaching out toward nearby planets. Time was running out. "Elder Synthesis, we have a plan that we believe will work, but it requires cooperation between our technologies." "Impossible. Human technology is too unpredictable to integrate with our systems." "Then we do this separately," David said. "But we do not abandon 17 billion sentient beings to save your pride." The transmission cut off. David could see the elder ships moving into their own formation around the star. "Commander," Dr. Vasquez said urgently, "they are charging some kind of containment field. If they activate it while we are trying to stabilize the quantum matrix, the interaction will tear a hole in space-time itself," David finished. "I know." He opened a channel to the entire task force. "All ships, we have a problem. The elders are going to try their own solution. If our technologies interact, the results could be catastrophic." "Sir," came a voice from the Morvakian ship Infinite Possibility, "suggest we coordinate our efforts whether the elders want to cooperate or not." David smiled. The younger species had learned something from humans. Sometimes, you had to act without permission. Agreed. "Elena, can you create a harmonic resonance between all our different drive systems?" I think so. But David, this has never been attempted before. We could destroy ourselves, or we could save the galaxy. David watched as human ships began to pulse with the distinctive glow of their Banshee drives. Around them, alien ships activated their own unique technologies. HFY gravity manipulators, Morvakian quantum computers, and systems from half a dozen other species. Harmonic resonance achieved, Elena reported. All ships are synchronized. Begin stellar stabilization procedure. The combined fleet moved as one organism. Human ships folded space around the dying star, creating pockets of stable reality. HFY vessels projected gravitational fields to contain the expanding plasma. Morvakian computers calculated the precise quantum adjustments needed to restart the stellar core. For a moment, it seemed to be working. The star's violent convulsions began to slow. Then the elder ships activated their containment field. The interaction was immediate and catastrophic. Space itself began to crack like broken glass. Reality twisted into impossible shapes. The dying star flared brighter than a supernova. All ships, emergency withdrawal, David ordered. But before anyone could move, something unexpected happened. The cracks in space-time began to heal themselves. The impossible twisted shapes straightened out. The star's brightness faded to a steady, healthy glow. "What just happened?" David asked. Elena's voice was filled with wonder. The interaction between our technologies and theirs. It created something new, something that actually works better than either approach alone. On the main screen, David could see that Kepler 438 was no longer dying. The stellar core was stable. The gravitational waves that threatened nearby systems were fading. "Commander Okafor," came a transmission from Elder Synthesis. The ancient being's voice sounded different somehow, less certain. "We did not expect this result." "Neither did we," David admitted. "But it worked. Your quantum harmonics enhanced our containment field beyond its design parameters. The combination created a self-sustaining stabilization matrix." David looked around at his mixed crew. Humans, HFY, Morvakians, and others working together at the same stations. "Maybe that is the point." "What do you mean?" "For 3 million years, your confederation has maintained order by keeping species separate. Everyone follows the same development path, uses approved technologies, stays in their assigned roles. This system has brought peace and stability." "And stagnation," David added. "Look what we just accomplished by combining different approaches. Imagine what we could do if the entire galaxy worked together instead of following ancient rules." There was a long pause. Then Elder Synthesis spoke again. "The Conclave will need to discuss this." "Of course. But while you discuss it, we will continue working together, because that is what the galaxy needs now." The elder ships began to withdraw. But before they disappeared, Elder Synthesis sent one final message. "Commander Okafor, your species has taught us something today. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to change." As the crisis ended, David looked around at the mixed fleet. Ships from species that had been enemies months before now flew together in perfect harmony. Their engines no longer screamed with individual voices, but sang together in a complex symphony. "Elena," he said, "set course for the Centauri system. I hear they are having problems with their terraforming project." "Understood. But David, you realize what this means, don't you? If we keep solving problems like this, the entire galactic order will change." David smiled as he watched human and alien ships disappear into folded space together. "That is exactly what I am hoping for." 6 months later, the changes were evident throughout the galaxy. Species that had never spoken to each other were forming joint research projects. Technologies that had been restricted for millions of years were being shared freely. Young civilizations were advancing at rates that would have been impossible under the old system. The Eternal Conclave still existed, but their role had changed. Instead of controlling galactic development, they found themselves learning from the chaos and creativity that humans had brought to the stars. The Confederation was reforming itself into something new, something that valued innovation over tradition, cooperation over control, and growth over stability. And at the center of it all, human ships continued to tear through space with engines that screamed like banshees. But now they were joined by thousands of other vessels, each adding their own voice to the symphony of a galaxy learning to change. Humanity had not conquered the stars. They had taught the stars to sing.
The day the skies darkened over Earth began like any other. Blue skies turned to black as massive ships appeared in orbit, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian against the void of space. Earth's military forces went on high alert, but their weapons seemed tiny compared to the giants that now loomed overhead. Captain James Walker stared at the main screen of Earth's United Defense Command Center. His weathered face showed no fear, only intense focus. Beside him, Commander Lisa Reed analyzed incoming data, her sharp eyes catching details others missed. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel," said the communications officer, his voice steady despite the tension filling the room. Walker nodded. "Put it through." The screen flickered, revealing a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and 3 pairs of eyes arranged vertically. When it spoke, its voice was deep and melodic, yet carried an unmistakable tone of superiority. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Vorks of the Galactic Council. Your world has been monitored for some time, and it has been determined that you have reached sufficient technological advancement to be formally acknowledged. The Council requires your world to join as a protected species under our guidance." Walker stepped forward. "This is Captain James Walker of Earth's United Defense Command. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but we are a sovereign planet. What exactly does protected species mean?" The alien's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "It means you will benefit from our wisdom and technology while following Council directives. Your primitive development requires supervision." Commander Reed whispered to Walker. "That sounds more like colonization than an alliance." Walker nodded slightly before addressing the alien again. "We would need to discuss any such arrangement with our world leaders. How many species make up this council?" 27 advanced civilizations form the council, maintaining order across 12,000 light-years of space. Your species would be the 28th, though initially as a protectorate only. "And if we decline?" Walker asked, maintaining a diplomatic tone despite the implicit threat in the alien's words. All 6 of Admiral Vorks's eyes blinked simultaneously. "That would be unwise. Unaligned worlds present risks to galactic stability. The Council does not permit such anomalies." After the communication ended, Earth's leaders gathered in an emergency session. Representatives from every nation crowded into the United Nations Hall in New York, faces grim as they reviewed the encounter. "They're giving us an ultimatum," said General Martinez, head of the Global Defense Initiative. "Join or face what they politely called cleansing measures." Walker stood before the assembly, his uniform crisp despite having been awake for 36 hours straight. "The technology gap is significant. Their ships utilize energy systems we've only theorized about, but there's something odd about their approach." "What do you mean?" asked the Secretary General. "They're overconfident. They've shown us their fleet, their weapons, even explained their council structure. It's as if they don't consider us a threat at all." Commander Reed stepped forward, bringing up holographic displays of the alien vessels. "Their technology is advanced, but predictable. Everything about their ships, the design, positioning, even their communication protocols, follows strict, linear patterns." The room fell silent as Reed continued. "We've analyzed their ship movements. Every maneuver, every formation change follows perfect geometric progressions. No randomness, no adaptation to circumstances. It's like they've never needed to improvise." General Martinez stood up. "Are you suggesting we have a chance against them?" Walker exchanged a look with Reed before answering. I'm suggesting that Project Thunderbolt might be our only hope. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Project Thunderbolt had been Earth's best-kept secret for 15 years, a revolutionary starship built using principles that defied conventional physics. The Chimera isn't ready, said the science director. We've only run 3 test flights in deep space. The chaos drive is still unpredictable. Unpredictable might be exactly what we need, Walker replied. The debate raged for hours, but in the E2 end the decision was made. Earth would appear to negotiate while secretly preparing its one wild card. 3 days later, Walker and Reed found themselves aboard the Council's command ship, escorted by tall, silent guards with skin like polished marble. The corridors were perfectly straight, every junction forming precise right angles. Even the decorative elements followed strict geometric patterns. They were led to a vast chamber where representatives of the Council species sat in a perfect circle. Admiral Vorks stood at the center. Captain Walker, Commander Reed. The Council has agreed to show you a small demonstration of what awaits those who resist Council authority. Perhaps then you will convey to your leaders the futility of delaying acceptance of our generous offer. A large screen activated, showing a barren moon in a distant system. A Council vessel moved into position, and then without warning, fired a beam of intense blue energy. The beam traveled in a perfectly straight line, striking the moon with surgical precision. 1/4 of the moon simply vanished, leaving a perfectly flat surface where the energy had struck. The linear cannon, Admiral Vorks announced with pride. The pinnacle of Council military technology. It fires in a perfect straight line, cutting through any material with absolute precision. No deflection, no scatter, no waste. This is how advanced species wage war, with elegance and certainty. Walker kept his face neutral, but his mind was racing. The weapon was devastating, yet its very perfection revealed a fundamental weakness. In Council thinking. Impressive, he said carefully. Earth has nothing comparable. Of course not, Vorks replied. Your species still relies on explosive propellants and crude ballistics. You have barely mastered basic orbital travel. How long do we have to consider your offer? Reed asked. The Council grants Earth 72 hours to submit formal acceptance. After that, we will be forced to begin cleansing procedures on outlying, human settlements. As they were escorted back to their shuttle, Walker whispered to Reed, Did you notice? Not one of their systems shows any capacity for dealing with unpredictable variables. Reed nodded slightly. Their entire civilization values order above all. They fire straight. Then it's time for humans to show them the value of chaos, Walker said as they boarded their shuttle to return to Earth. Send the authorization code to activate final phase of Project Thunderbolt. As they descended toward Earth, neither spoke, again both watching the massive Council ships arranged in perfect, predictable formations above their home. In less than 3 days, humanity would either become slaves to the Council's perfect order, or show the galaxy that sometimes, the most powerful weapon is unpredictability. Behind the moon, hidden from Council sensors, engineers made final preparations on the USS Chimera, a ship designed not to fire straight but to break every rule the Council lived by. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council glittered with advanced technology. Captain Walker and Commander Reed stood at the center of the circular room, surrounded by representatives of 27 alien species. Some floated in special tanks. Others sat on elevated platforms, but all watched the humans with mixed curiosity and dismissal. Admiral Vorks gestured with his 4-fingered hand, and a 3-dimensional map of the solar system appeared in the air. Today, we will show you the true might of the Council, he announced. Your primitive species must understand what you face should you choose unwisely. Walker maintained a neutral expression despite the insult. We appreciate your candor, Admiral. A tall, insect-like alien with crystalline eyes stepped forward. I am General Krill of the Strategic Fleet. For 10,000 cycles, the Council has maintained order through superior technology and discipline. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. The demonstration will begin shortly. Reed studied the alien representatives carefully. Despite their different biologies, they all shared something, an almost religious reverence for order and symmetry. Even their seating arrangement formed perfect geometric patterns. Outside the massive council mothership, smaller vessels moved into formation. The humans and council representatives watched through a view screen that showed a section of empty space near Jupiter. "We have positioned a target drone at a distance of 1 astronomical unit," General Krill explained. "Observe true power, wielded with perfect precision." 3 council ships aligned themselves in a triangle formation. Energy began to build between them, forming a web of light that pulsed with increasing intensity. "The linear cannon requires 3 ships for maximum effectiveness," Admiral Vorks explained. "Each vessel provides one component of the firing solution. Absolute coordination is required, something only truly advanced species can achieve." The energy reached a critical point and then shot forth as a perfect beam of blinding blue light. It traveled in an absolutely straight line, unnaturally so, as if the very concept of deviation had been erased from physics. When it struck the target drone, the small ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, leaving a perfectly cylindrical void in space. "The linear cannon doesn't merely destroy," Vorks continued, pride evident in his voice. "It removes matter from existence by severing the quantum bonds between particles. No debris, no radiation, no aftermath, only perfect deletion." Walker exchanged a quick glance with Reed. This was valuable intelligence. "Most impressive," Walker said. "May I ask how the targeting works?" General Krill seemed pleased by the question. "The linear cannon can only fire in a perfect straight line. Once the 3 ships establish the firing solution, it cannot be altered. This is why precise positioning and mathematical perfection are the foundation of council military doctrine." "And if the target moves?" Reed asked innocently. Several council members made sounds that might have been laughter. "A common question from species new to galactic conflict," Vork said condescendingly. "In space warfare, true technological superiority removes the need for unpredictability. Our targeting computers can calculate an object's movement with perfect accuracy, allowing us to position our forces where the target will be, not where it is." "Fascinating," Walker said, mentally cataloging the tactical weakness this revealed. "Your approach to warfare is certainly different from Earth's military history." Admiral Vorks tilted his head. "Different? No, Captain. Superior. Your species still relies on chaotic tactics and wasteful explosives because you lack the ability to achieve perfection." The demonstration continued as the council ships performed increasingly complex maneuvers, always in perfect geometric patterns. They destroyed asteroid fragments with surgical precision, carving them into perfect cubes and spheres with their energy weapons. During a short break, Walker and Reed were escorted to an observation deck. Reed whispered, "They're showing off." Walker nodded slightly. "And telling us exactly how they fight. Notice how every ship moves in predictable patterns? How their formations never adapt to changing circumstances? They've never faced an enemy that survived long enough to require adaptation," Reed replied. "Their weakness is their rigidity." A soft chime indicated the demonstration was resuming. This time, Admiral Vorks himself guided them to a different section of the mothership. "You will now witness our fleet's coordination capabilities," he announced as they entered a vast chamber lined with viewing ports. Outside, hundreds of council ships moved in perfect unison, forming complex 3-dimensional patterns that shifted and realigned with mathematical precision. It was beautiful, but eerily mechanical. "Each vessel knows its exact position relative to every other ship," Vorks explained. "There is no confusion, no chaos in our operations. This is why the Council has remained undefeated for millennia." Walker studied the formations carefully. "Do all your ships carry the linear cannon?" "Only our capital ships possess that technology," General Krill replied, "but every Council vessel follows the same principles of linear warfare." As the demonstration concluded, the Council ships returned to their perfect hexagonal docking pattern around the mothership. Walker and Reed were escorted back to the chamber where the Council representatives waited. You have now seen a fraction of our capabilities, Admiral Vorks announced. Your species has 72 hours remaining to accept protectorate status. I trust this demonstration has made the correct choice obvious. Back on their shuttle returning to Earth, Walker and Reed finally spoke freely. Their entire strategy revolves around predictability, Walker said, excitement in his voice despite the grave situation. They expect enemies to follow patterns. They can calculate. Reed nodded, already typing notes into her secure tablet. Their ships are powerful, but they move like pieces on a chessboard, following strict rules and patterns. And their prized weapon can only fire in a straight line, Walker added. It's devastating, but limited by its own perfection. Project Thunderbolt was designed for exactly this scenario, Reed said. The Chimera doesn't move in straight lines, or predictable patterns. Walker smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. I think it's time we showed the Council what humanity brings to the galaxy. When they landed at the United Defense Command Center, they were immediately escorted to the underground war room. Earth's military and political leaders waited anxiously for their report. General Martinez stood as they entered. How bad is it? Walker surprised everyone with a confident smile. Their technology is advanced, but their tactics are rigid to the point of vulnerability. They've shown us exactly how they fight, in straight lines and perfect formations. And, the Secretary General asked. And humanity has never fought that way, Walker replied. Our strength has always been adaptation, unpredictability, chaos when necessary. Reed activated a holographic display showing the Council's linear cannon. They expect submission because they believe their way is the only way, but they've never encountered humans before. General Martinez leaned forward. Project Thunderbolt? Walker nodded. The Chimera is our answer to their linear cannon. They fire straight. We'll show them what happens when humans decide to get creative. Behind them on the main screen, the countdown timer showed 68 hours until the Council's deadline expired. Beneath the Defense Command Center, in a secure hangar carved deep into the Earth, engineers and scientists worked frantically to prepare humanity's secret weapon, a ship designed to break every rule the Galactic Council lived by. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in a facility that officially didn't exist, the final preparations for Project Thunderbolt reached their climax. The massive underground hangar buzzed with activity as hundreds of engineers and scientists worked around the clock. Captain Walker and Commander Reed stood on an observation platform overlooking the centerpiece of humanity's secret defense project, the USS Chimera. Unlike the sleek, geometric perfection of Council ships, the Chimera looked almost unfinished. Its hull was a patchwork of different materials, with curves and angles that seemed to follow no logical pattern. Parts of it appeared to shift and change, even as they watched. She doesn't look like much, General Martinez said as he joined them on the platform. Walker smiled. That's the point. The Council would look at her and see a primitive, cobbled-together mess. They wouldn't understand what they're seeing. Chief Engineer Mike Thompson approached, his jumpsuit stained with hydraulic fluid, and his eyes red from lack of sleep. Despite his exhaustion, excitement radiated from him. She's ready, Thompson announced. Final tests on the Chaos Drive exceeded expectations. The Chimera can move in ways that should be physically impossible. Reed turned to him. Explain it to the General. He needs to understand what makes the Chimera different. Thompson gestured toward the strange vessel. The Council's ships, and their weapons, operate on principles of perfect linearity. Their technology is advanced, but predictable. The Chimera is the opposite. He activated a holographic display showing the ship's internal systems. The Chaos Drive doesn't push the ship in a single direction like conventional engines. Instead, it creates localized quantum fluctuations that temporarily alter the fabric of space-time around the vessel. In simple terms, the General asked. She doesn't move through space, space moves around her, Thompson said. The Chimera can appear to change direction instantly because she's not actually turning. The universe is bending around her. Walker added, and that makes her movement impossible to predict using standard physics models, like the ones the Council relies on. The general studied the strange ship. And the weapons? Thompson's face lit up with pride. Just as unconventional. The Council uses weapons that fire in straight lines. Ours are designed to be unpredictable. He pointed to what looked like bulbous protrusions along the ship's hull. These are scatter cannons. They don't fire a single beam, but thousands of energy particles that ricochet off each other, creating unpredictable attack patterns. And these, he continued, indicating strange, dish-like structures, are quantum mirror arrays. They can capture energy, like from the Council's linear cannon, and redirect it in random patterns. Random? The general frowned. How do we aim? We don't exactly, Thompson admitted. The targeting system uses probability algorithms instead of direct calculations. The weapons officer selects a target zone rather than a precise point. Walker stepped in. It's like the difference between a sniper rifle and a shotgun, General. The Council are perfect snipers, but they've never faced someone who changes the rules of the game. The general nodded slowly. 24 hours until the Council's deadline. When can you launch? We're ready now, Walker said confidently. Hours. Later, a small group gathered in the United Defense Command Center. On the main screen, Admiral Vorks's face displayed growing impatience. Your time grows short, humans, the alien said. The Council requires your answer. The Secretary General stepped forward. Admiral, we wish to present our response in person. We request permission to approach your vessel with a small diplomatic ship. Vorks's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Permission granted, but be warned, any sign of hostile intent will be met with immediate destruction. When the transmission ended, Walker turned to his assembled crew. This is it. Everything we've planned for. The Council expects a diplomatic vessel carrying Earth's surrender. Instead, they'll get their first look at the Chimera. The 20 crew members of the Chimera represented Earth's finest. Pilots, engineers, scientists, and soldiers, chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively. They won't recognize what they're seeing, Reed told the crew during the final briefing. The Chimera doesn't match any known ship design. They'll scan us, but their sensors are designed to detect specific energy signatures and regular patterns. The Chaos Drive emits neither. Walker took his place in the command chair. Our mission isn't to attack first. We'll approach openly, let them scan us, and wait for their reaction. Remember, the Council has never faced a species that didn't either surrender or fight conventionally. Thompson spoke from his engineering station. The Chaos Drive is operating at 87% efficiency. We could push it higher, but the stability curves become unpredictable above 90%. 87% is enough, Walker assured him. Weapons status? Scatter cannons charged, reported the weapons officer. Quantum mirrors aligned and ready. Defensive systems active. Walker took a deep breath. Launch sequence initiated. Open the mountain. Above them, the massive doors built into the mountainside slid open, revealing the night sky. The Chimera rose silently, its strange drive emitting no visible exhaust or energy signature. As they climbed through the atmosphere, Council ships detected their movement and adjusted their positions, moving into their standard hexagonal defense formation. They're tracking us, Reed reported, but they're confused. Their communications indicate they can't identify our propulsion system. Walker smiled. Good, let's keep them guessing. The Chimera approached the Council mothership at a measured pace. On the Council's command deck, Admiral Vorks and General Krill watched the approaching vessel with growing concern. What manner of ship is that? Krill demanded of his sensor operators. It matches no known configuration. Its hull composition is changing, one operator reported, and we cannot detect its propulsion system. Vorks's eyes narrowed. A primitive attempt at stealth technology. Scan it again. On the Chimera, Walker received a transmission request from the mothership. On screen, he ordered. Admiral Vorks appeared, his expression a mixture of confusion and disdain. Captain Walker, this is not a diplomatic vessel. It is today, Walker replied calmly. Admiral, I present the USS Chimera, Earth's first true starship. Vork studied the strange vessel on his scanners. This contraption is what you present to the Council? It appears barely capable of spaceflight. Appearances can be deceiving, Walker said. We request permission to demonstrate the Chimera's capabilities before we continue diplomatic discussions. General, Krill moved into view beside Vork's. This is some kind of deception. Their species cannot have developed advanced spaceflight technology. Not advanced by your standards, perhaps, Walker replied, but effective nonetheless. Allow us to show you. Vork's, and Krill conferred briefly before the Admiral turned back to the screen. Very well. You may demonstrate your vessel's capabilities in the designated testing zone. But be warned, any approach toward Council ships will be considered hostile action. Walker nodded. Understood. Chimera out. As the transmission ended, Walker turned to his crew with a grim smile. They're underestimating us exactly as we hoped. Now let's show the Galactic Council what happens when humans decide to fight back. The Chimera moved toward the testing zone, its strange hull seeming to shift and blur as it traveled. Behind it, Council ships maintained their perfect formation, ready to fire their linear cannons at the first sign of threat. What they didn't realize was that the strange human ship was designed specifically to survive such an attack, and to respond in ways no Council species had ever imagined possible. The designated testing zone was a clear area of space between Earth's moon and the massive Council fleet. Admiral Vork's and the other Council representatives watched from their command ship as the strange human vessel took position. Begin your demonstration, Vork's commanded, his tone making it clear he expected little of interest. Inside the Chimera, Captain Walker looked at his crew. Let's start with something simple. Navigation, execute pattern alpha. The helmsman tapped her controls, and the Chimera began to move. Unlike the straight lines and perfect arcs of Council ships, the Chimera's path seemed random, almost erratic. It accelerated suddenly, then stopped in ways that defied normal physics. It appeared to zigzag through space, changing direction without turning. On the Council mothership, the sensor operators were growing increasingly confused. Admiral, we cannot predict its movement pattern, one reported. Our targeting systems cannot establish a firing solution. General Krill stepped forward, mandibles clicking in agitation. Impossible. All objects follow predictable paths through space. Not this one, the sensor operator insisted. It's changing vectors without using conventional thrust. There's no consistent pattern to analyze. Vork's expression darkened. A simple trick. Deploy the observer drones to gather more data. Small spherical drones launched from the Council ships, surrounding the Chimera in a perfect grid pattern. Each drone emitted scanning beams that would allow the Council's computers to build a complete model of the human ship. Inside the Chimera, Reed monitored the drones. They're scanning us with standard spectrum analyzers. They're trying to map our movement patterns. Walker nodded. Time to show them why that won't work. Thompson, bring the chaos drive to 75% and execute pattern beta. Aye, Captain. Thompson replied from engineering. Chaos drive to 75%. The Chimera suddenly blurred, seeming to be in multiple places at once. The Council drone's scanning beams passed through empty space as the ship appeared to phase in and out of position. They're confused, Reed reported with a smile. Their scanning drones are recalibrating, trying to get a lock on us. In the Council command ship, alarms began to sound. Admiral, we've lost tracking, an operator reported. The human vessel is flickering. Flickering? Vork's demanded. Explain. It appears to exist in multiple positions simultaneously. The operator said, confusion evident in his voice. Our scanners cannot determine its true location. General Krill slammed a clawed hand on the console. This defies physics. It must be a sensor malfunction. Vork studied the display carefully. No. This is something else. Some kind of primitive stealth technology. Deploy the linear cannon array. We will end this demonstration with a display of true power. 3 Council battleships moved into triangle formation, their energy systems beginning to charge for a devastating linear cannon shot. On the Chimera, alarms sounded. "Captain, they're deploying their linear cannon, the tactical," officer reported. Walker remained calm. "Just as we expected. Reed, are the quantum mirrors ready?" "Yes, Captain. All arrays online and tracking the energy buildup." Walker opened a channel to the council ship. "Admiral Vorks, we detect your weapons charging. Is this part of the demonstration?" "As well." Vorks's face appeared on screen, his 6 eyes narrowed. "Your vessel's unusual movement patterns are concerning, Captain. The Council must verify that this is not a prelude to hostile action." "By firing on us?" Walker asked, raising an eyebrow. "The linear cannon will pass near your vessel," Vorks stated, "to demonstrate our precision, unless, of course, you wish to end this charade and accept the Council's authority." Walker smiled calmly. "We're happy to continue the demonstration, Admiral. Please proceed." As the transmission ended, Walker turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Thompson, push the chaos. Drive to 85%. Tactical, prepare the quantum mirrors." The crew worked with practiced efficiency as the 3 council ships completed their firing alignment. Energy built between them, forming the now familiar web of light. "They're targeting a point where they predict we'll be," Reed reported. "Based on a standard movement algorithm." Walker nodded. "Which is why we won't be there. Helm, execute pattern Gamma on my mark." The linear cannon reached full charge, and the beam of pure energy shot forth. A perfect blue line cutting through space exactly where the Chimera would have been if it followed normal physics. But at Walker's command, the Chimera had shifted in a way the Council's targeting computers couldn't predict. The ship seemed to fold space around itself, reappearing instantly at a different location. The linear cannon's beam passed through empty space. On the Council mothership, stunned silence fell. "It evaded," a tactical officer finally reported. Without changing course or accelerating, General Krill's voice rose in anger. "Impossible. Recalibrate the cannons. Fire again." The Council ships began to reposition for another shot, but they moved with the same predictable precision as before. Walker watched them on the Chimera's displays. "Their greatest strength is their greatest weakness," he observed. "They can't adapt their tactics. Helm, take us on approach vector Delta. Let's give them a real challenge." The Chimera accelerated toward the Council formation, its path a series of impossible turns and sudden shifts. The Council ships tried to track it, but their targeting systems weren't designed for such unpredictable movement. "They're firing again," Reed warned as the linear cannon charged once more. This time, Walker didn't evade. "Activate quantum mirrors," he ordered. As the blue beam shot toward the Chimera, the strange dishes on the ship's hull glowed to life. When the linear cannon's energy struck, instead of vaporizing the ship, the energy was caught in the quantum mirrors. For a moment, the Chimera glowed bright blue, seeming to absorb the devastating attack. Then, the quantum mirrors redirected the energy, not in a straight line, but in dozens of random, ricocheting beams that scattered in all directions. Several beams struck Council ships, not with enough force to destroy them, but enough to damage their perfect hulls. Alarms blared throughout the Council fleet as the impossible happened, their own weapon used against them in a way they had never conceived possible. "Direct hit on our port side," a Council officer reported, panic in his voice. The human vessel redirected the linear cannon's energy. Admiral Vork stood rigid with shock. "All ships, defensive formation. Prepare for—" But he couldn't finish the order because he didn't know what to prepare for. In 10,000 years of Council dominance, no species had ever survived a linear cannon shot, let alone reflected it back. On the Chimera, the strain of the maneuver was evident. Systems sparked and alarms sounded. "Quantum mirrors at 30% capacity," the tactical officer reported. "They can't take another direct hit." Thompson's voice came over the comm. "The chaos drive is overheating. We need to reduce power or risk a cascade failure." Walker nodded grimly. "We've made our point. Take us to safe distance. Standard drive only." As the Chimera backed away, the Council ships fell into disarray. Their perfect formations broke as Commanders tried to process what they had witnessed. Walker opened a channel to Admiral Vorks. The alien's face showed a new emotion. Uncertainty. "This demonstration is concluded, Admiral," Walker said calmly. "Earth awaits your response." For the first time, Vorks had no ready answer. The Council's perfect weapons had failed against human unpredictability, and the galaxy would never be the same. Silence hung over the Council's grand chamber. The 27 representatives sat in their usual perfect circle, but the atmosphere was anything but orderly. Admiral Vorks stood at the center, facing Captain Walker and Commander Reed. "In 10,000 years, Vorks said, his voice uncharacteristically quiet, "no species has ever survived a direct encounter with the linear cannon, yet your vessel not only survived but redirected our own energy against us." Walker stood tall, showing neither pride nor fear. "The Chimera was designed specifically to counter your tactics, Admiral. We studied the few records we had of Council encounters with other species and identified your greatest strength and weakness." "Which is?" asked General Krill, his crystalline eyes glinting. "Predictability," Reed answered simply. "Your civilization values order above all else. Your ships move in perfect formations. Your weapons fire in straight lines. Your tactics haven't changed in millennia because they've never needed to." Murmurs spread among the Council representatives. A floating spherical being pulsed with blue, light as it spoke. "You claim to have anticipated our arrival? Impossible. Your species has only recently achieved basic spaceflight." Walker smiled slightly. "Not exactly. Humanity has known about the Galactic Council for nearly 50 years. The chamber erupted in surprised exclamations and clicking sounds. Admiral Vorks raised his hands for silence. "Explain." "In 1977, one of our space probes encountered a damaged Council scout ship at the edge of our solar system," Walker explained. "The crew was dead, but the ship's data core was intact. We reverse-engineered what we could and learned about the Council." "Impossible," General Krill insisted. "Our technology is far beyond your capability to understand." "True," Walker admitted. "We couldn't replicate your technology, but we could study your tactics, your patterns, your philosophy, and we began preparing." Reed activated a small device that projected images of Earth's hidden facilities. "Project Thunderbolt wasn't about matching your technology, it was about countering it. We knew that if we ever encountered the Council, conventional weapons would be useless. So instead," Walker continued, "we developed technology that embraced chaos rather than order. The Chimera doesn't move, fight, or think like Council ships, because it was designed specifically not to." Admiral Vorks studied the humans with new interest. "You knew we would come, and you prepared a single vessel as your defense?" "One was enough to prove our point," Walker said confidently. "We have the designs for 30 more." This was a bluff. The Chimera had nearly depleted Earth's rare resources, but Vorks had no way to know that. A tall, willowy alien with pale skin spoke next. "Your species presents a unique situation. The Council has never encountered a civilization that specifically developed countermeasures to our tactics." Walker nodded. "Because most species try to imitate you, to develop along the same technological path. We chose a different approach." "Chaos," Vorks said, almost with distaste. "Adaptability," Walker corrected. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to find unexpected solutions, to think differently when faced with challenges." The Council representatives conferred among themselves in hushed tones. Finally, Admiral Vorks turned back to the humans. "The Council must reconsider Earth's status," he announced formally. "Your demonstration has raised questions about our standard protocols." For the first time, Walker allowed himself to relax slightly. "Earth is prepared to join the Galactic Council, but as equals, not as a protectorate." "Unprecedented," muttered General Krill. "So was surviving the linear cannon," Reed pointed out. The debate continued for hours. Council species argued among themselves, some insisting that humans be contained, others arguing for a more careful study of Earth's unusual approach to technology. Finally, the willowy alien, who Walker learned was named Diplomat Ilara, representing one of the oldest council species, offered a compromise. The council requires stability and order, she said. But perhaps there is value in controlled chaos. If humans can develop technology that counters our greatest weapons, what might others develop? Perhaps we have become too predictable. Admiral Vork seemed reluctant but nodded. A valid concern. Our dominance has led to complacency. We propose an arrangement, Diplomat Ilara continued. Earth will join the Council not as a protectorate but as a provisional member. In exchange, human engineers will work with Council scientists to develop new defensive systems less vulnerable to unconventional attacks. Walker exchanged a glance with Reed before replying. And Earth maintains its sovereignty, our right to develop our own path? Within Council guidelines, Vork stipulated. But yes, with greater autonomy than standard protectorates. Walker considered the offer carefully. We accept your terms, with one addition. Complete access to Council star charts and data on all known species. If Earth is to be part of this galactic community, we need to understand it fully. More debate followed, but eventually agreement was reached. The Chimera's demonstration had forced the Council to recognize that their perfect order had created perfect predictability, a dangerous weakness if ever exploited by a truly hostile force. 3 months later, Captain Walker stood on the observation deck of a new facility orbiting Earth. Below him, Council ships moved in formation alongside human vessels, conducting joint exercises. The USS Chimera floated nearby, now joined by 2 smaller vessels incorporating both human and Council technology. Commander Reed joined him, holding a data tablet. The Council is keeping their end of the bargain. Their engineers are actually learning from us, incorporating randomized defensive patterns into their ship designs. Walker nodded. And their data on the galaxy has opened up possibilities we never imagined. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of species. Some not as friendly as the Council, Reed pointed out. Their records show increasing activity from beyond the galactic rim, ships that don't follow any known patterns. The real reason they're adapting, Walker said thoughtfully. The Council senses a threat coming, something even their perfect order can't handle. Admiral Vorks entered the observation deck, moving with the fluid grace of his species. Over the past months, the Admiral had developed a grudging respect for the humans. Captain Walker, Commander Reed, he greeted them. The joint fleet exercises are proceeding well, though I must admit watching Council ships perform your chaotic maneuvers is unsettling. Walker smiled. Change usually is. Indeed. Vorks turned to look out at the stars. Our tacticians have analyzed the data from beyond the rim. The patterns, or rather the lack of patterns, is concerning. Whatever approaches uses methods even more unpredictable than your own. Then it's good we're working together, Walker said. The Council brings 10,000 years of stability and technology. Humanity brings adaptability and unconventional thinking. A formidable combination, Vorks admitted. Perhaps the ancient prophecy was correct. Reed raised an eyebrow. Prophecy? There is an old saying among the founding species, Vorks explained. When order reaches perfection, chaos will rise to balance the scales. We always interpreted it as a warning against disorder. Now I wonder if it meant something else entirely. Together, the 3 figures watched as human and alien ships practiced new formations, not in perfect geometric patterns, but in seemingly random arrangements that would confuse enemy targeting systems. The Council had learned that firing in straight lines was no longer enough, and humanity had found its place among the stars, not as servants or subjects, but as the unpredictable element that might save the galaxy from an even greater chaos that loomed beyond the rim. When that threat finally arrived, it would face not just the perfect order of the Council, but the creative chaos of humanity, a combination unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen.